but it's live already. Okay. So where do I find this link? There it is. Copy.
Copy that link.
And go to Google.
Go into your email now.
Where is it?
We just go into a different browser.
Let's see. So we got Robin. 0207.
Yeah. Tina. Lane. Tina.
Yeah.
Add Lena. Add Parker. Add Samuel. And then get rid of that. Okay. Just put HOA. You're not in there. Nope, that's not how I do it. I have to go to the link right there in order just for them to have just link onto it. Click on link and I'll paste it in there. Say okay. And send.
Where's the record button? At the bottom.
Start broadcast.
It's already started.
You're live.
That's what I said earlier. So is it recording?
It's recording this whole time.
Okay.
Hi. Well, it's the two of us.
You must have got the link. There's Tina.
Hi.
Hi, Tina.
So, Robin, while we're waiting for other people, I need help.
Okay.
I sent you an email.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what I should write about, and I was reading. I love your opening paragraph, your statement. I mean,
Okay, good. So
but
did you read the one about
so
our section?
I'm sorry.
Did you read our section then?
Yes.
Okay. Um, a couple of other things is coming up with an appraisal itself. So that's
So defining a def,
actually developing the
developing.
appraisal.
Okay.
And the other thing is it could be on the timing of how often they needed to meet and how to implement changes from those appraisals.
All right, looks like everybody's here. Parker and Samuel.
We're missing Lane.
Oh, Lane, yes. One more. We'll give it a minute
All right.
and see if Lane.
Thank you, Robin. I'm adding that um, onto the Word doc,
Okay.
and then I will work on that. Thank you. My brain, I'm like, what do I write about? I don't know.
I know, trust me, I've been writing all of those intros and it's been driving me crazy. And by the way, we're already live. Dave hit the record button.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's okay. Well,
David, why don't you get started with
yeah, we
moving
better
on?
get going. Um, Parker, you there?
Yes, sir.
There you are. I heard you. So, okay, this week we're talking about sexual harassment and the two articles that we were to read for Wednesday night activity, the one on Lone Star Company, and then the notes on the laws of sexual harassment by the Harvard Business School. So, we'll dive right into this thing here and make sure. Okay. On the sexual harassment, it asks us first to decide what sexual harassment means, and we'll just kind of go down the list. Maybe Parker first, what your definition would be.
Okay. I'd say there are two kinds of sexual harassment. One that is based on the, I don't know, uh, sexual or chemistry interaction between two people, whether it's wanted. And the other would be discrimination based upon sex or gender. And that's kind of the way I've thought of it.
Okay. Robin, anything to add there?
Well, last night they basically, Brother Bonnie mentioned that the quid pro quo harassment pretty much doesn't exist as much as it used to back in the 70s and 80s, but the hostile work environment is the one that we really need to focus on.
Yeah, he mentioned that the you're going to lose your job unless you do this. That's kind of more gone away in the general sense of things. So, um, we read the story on Lone Star, and based on that story, remember the lady's name was Martinez, Julia Martinez. Um, we, I guess, which type of sexual harassment would that fall into is the question on that.
That would be environment.
Yeah, that's more of
There's no strings attached to his behavior. He simply is doing it.
yeah, he's just doing it. Then also it mentioned that the quad pro quo, that's the one where you'll lose your job unless you do this kind of thing. Um, it might be a little bit that because she felt she might lose her job. And in one of the comments she made to her friend on the phone, does anybody remember what that was? It was, I don't want to lose my job. I just try to get a transfer or something like that. So, now, DaCosta was the man or the person that overheard it. DaCosta got. Do you think he got accurate advice from when he called into the office, counseling office? How about, is Samuel there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. Sorry, my computer's being kind of slow.
Yeah. What do you think about when he called into the office to get advice? Did he get good advice?
Well, I don't think he necessarily liked the advice that he got, but I think that he got the advice that he needed to do to proceed in like the best way to protect their organization.
Yeah, they kind of made that knee-jerk response. You've got to report this. That's if they didn't, they'd be liable, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So, um, okay, let's go on to the next section here. If you were a lawyer representing the company, let's say, why might the lawyer representing the company insist on instituting a formal investigation right away if you were the lawyer? Do you think that would happen? Let's go to, how about Tina? What do you think the lawyers would do?
So is this on the Lone Star?
This is the Lone
still talking
Star
about
where
Lone
he
Star,
overheard
right?
the worker.
Yeah. So yes, I think if I was a lawyer, I definitely would want to start an investigation, especially since this wasn't just brought up to DaCosta, right? I mean, he overheard her talking. He overheard how emotional she was and telling her friend, and considering all of that, it wasn't her spreading rumors in the office. She was trying to have a private conversation that happened. The lawyers would take all that into account and, yeah, launch a formal investigation.
Yes. It asks here, to take a quick, what would you do in his case if you overheard that? Is everyone, let's take a quick vote, it says here. How many would go and call and report it, and how many wouldn't, I guess, at that point?
After talking to HR?
Yeah, what would you do if you were in his point and just overheard her conversation? Would you report it, or would you just, it's none of my business, I guess, is kind of the other option here at this point. So let's start with Lane then. So, are you there, Lane? I can see you.
It looks like he's having some audio issues because he keeps unmuting himself, but he's not saying anything. I think he's
Yeah, I can see the mute going on and off. Let's go to Parker. What would your what would you do in the first case there? So,
I would go to my office. I would write down everything I could recall so that my story didn't get mixed up in the future, and then I would report it immediately and just get it off my mind because that kind of crap can't continue. And yeah, just get it taken care of.
So report immediately.
Yeah.
Robin?
Let's see. I would definitely report it too. I like what Parker said, that you need to make sure that you write down what you heard so it can't change. And because emotions can get tied in, and when you start getting questioned or whatever, sometimes your memory is not as good as what first happened. And so I think it's important that you write down all the details because you probably will be asked about it again. But I think it needs to be reported not only to stop the behavior but also to protect Julia.
Okay.
Because it's going to continue to get worse if it's not fixed.
All right, Lane, are you audible? Still not audible.
Hey Lane, we can see your speech bubble whenever you type into the chat. So if you want to be working on a short response, then maybe we could hear from Sam or Tina, and then you can kind of type your response.
If you have that capability right now, there you are. Never had a problem before. Yeah, it's like Brother Bonnie the other day. He was giving his usual broadcast and he couldn't even get it to work for him that night. So says there are some quirks with this thing. So Samuel, what would you do at that point?
No, I definitely would have done exactly how he did, was, reported it, because you wouldn't want it to fall back on you. So
How about Tina?
So yeah, I think I fall in line with everyone else. It's one of those things too. It's like you for sure definitely want to report it, but then you also want to try to talk to her, and which is kind of what he did. And in some way, that I feel like that almost backfired, because at the end of it, where they ended it anyway, they never really say how it finished, but just that he was going to give her time to figure something out. So I don't know that that was necessarily the right thing, because I think it for sure needed to be reported.
Yeah, Brother Bonnie in the meeting last night talked about how people says, okay, let's just come in and talk about this and work this out like he did. He called her in to talk about it. He says 99.9% of the time that's the wrong thing to do, because it never gets really resolved when you try to do that. You basically just have to go ahead with what you're going to do. Most of us looks like you're just going to report it right away. That puts something hard on Martinez. How are you going to assure her that everything's going to be okay by reporting that? Any ideas there? How about, let's go with Parker.
I actually wouldn't talk to Martinez about it at all, to be frank. Couple of reasons. Number one, I think getting involved makes it messier. I am not an HR professional or a psychologist in any way. I probably couldn't trust myself to say the right thing. And number two, could make things worse. And then, in all sincerity, I simply wouldn't want to get mixed up in the whole problem. I would rather stay anonymous where I can. If necessary, then I'd be more than glad to, give my testimony type thing. But I wouldn't get involved unless I was asked to. I would simply report what I heard, and if nothing happens, then you got to think about something else. If there's a failure in the communications and getting something resolved, then you kind of consider what else you might do. But other than that, I wouldn't even talk to her about it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm feeling. You just kind of mess things up as you talk with someone. You just need to go through the channels and get things in process. But it'll be interesting. I'll read you the rest of the story here of what really happens in a minute here. But let's get through a few more questions. And we kind of answered that. It asked, what would you specifically report to the EEO office when you call in there? And sounds like we kind of answered that. Parker said he'd make sure you write it down and make sure you're consistent. Same with Tina. So we kind of answered that question however. So I'm trying to push this meeting a little fast here just so we can get to our paper. So I'm going to jump on to the next step here. What I'm going to do here is tell you what happened in the story here. Jack, who was the one who overheard Julia Montina, called corporate counsel. He forgot about the caller ID. So the lawyer used that information and could figure out who he was talking to by what department he was in and who was involved just by that caller ID. So she contacted Lone Star EEO, which launched a formal investigation. The EEO tried hard to get Martinez to cooperate. French denied all charges, claiming that Martinez had made up her story to protect her from the pending layoffs. DaCosta was asked for evidence, but he didn't have any. Julia Martinez's husband found out what was going on and beat up Julia and forced her to quit her job. French survived the investigation. He's the one that was doing the sexual harassment with only a bruised reputation. He blamed everything on DaCosta for calling corporate counsel. There was so much animosity between DaCosta and French that DaCosta left the company 3 months later. So, what you think could have been done better in that situation so it didn't have that kind of outcome? How about Tina?
That's a hard one because you want to do the right thing by trying to help herself, and it turned around and bit him. And I mean, I'm not really sure what could have been done differently.
Well, I think one suggestion that we've heard from a few people was he should have just reported and not talked to her, and that may have still had the same outcome, but at least, I don't know. Like I said, he would have stayed anonymous. So.
And he tried to stay anonymous too, right? But then they figured out who the caller was and figured it out from there. So that didn't even help.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's usually laws protecting people that report things. So even if you were to tell the lawyer who you are, because they're the company lawyer and you work for the company, I could be wrong, but I believe there's a certain level of lawyer, counsel, and client confidentiality in place. I could be wrong on that. But secondly, I think a really good point was brought up is that there's no evidence of the harassment, and so I think you need to report it immediately. But I wonder if he could have communicated with the EEO office or the lawyer to figure out if maybe there's some steps they could take to make sure they knew who it was. Because number one, the only thing DaCosta heard was that it was Julia's boss. And as a secretary, she might be inferring someone other than Mr. French. Not that that's what the case was, but you don't know exactly what's going on. So I think there needs to be some communication as to how they might figure out exactly who it is, rather than trying to interview people, because that rarely gets the job done. You need to have some sort of evidence.
What do you think, with this result that came out from here and what happened, what do you think the policy was at this company? How good a policy do you think they had? Robin?
I think it was pretty much a sweep it under the rug if you can't prove anything. And so they were protecting upper management more than anything. Part of it, instead of actually going and questioning the people involved in that department, they could have also gone to done just training company-wide, and this is the sexual harassment policy, and this is because then Julia would have seen an avenue to report it.
Yeah, one of the key things, and I think Parker hit on this, is because he didn't actually see it himself, it was pretty much hearsay, her word. So I don't know if that changes that he shouldn't have reported it at the time, but maybe there was a better avenue for him to go through. And if they had a more broader policy in place, maybe there was a better avenue for her to go through than what happened there, the investigation, all that. Maybe she should have just sat down and talked with the lawyer or HR, and if she didn't want to pursue it, then maybe the case should have been just dropped at that time and less damage would have been done, but who knows? Any ideas on that?
It sounds to me like that company didn't have a very good confidentiality policy, so that people could feel comfortable going in knowing that they can talk to him without everyone else knowing that they were the ones that in there talking.
Yep. Um, Trying to see where I'm at here. Okay, from this week's lesson, we're supposed to kind of come up. We talked about what sexual harassment is, but what do you think are some of the basic things a sexual harassment policy should have in it? I'd say Lane, but Lane left the group chat. Is he chatting, or are you still just able to just listen? We can't hear you. Yeah, you're still. Let me see if anything here. No. Tried clicking on you to see if it'll bring you up better. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll just keep you listening then, Lane. So, all right, Parker. What do you think are some of the basic elements a sexual harassment policy should have?
I think where sexual harassment is defined by law, I think it still needs to be in the policy to be clear with employees exactly what sexual harassment is. And then I think repercussions need to be clear. I think processes and repercussions need to be extremely clear on what can happen to you if you are found guilty, essentially, of being involved in this kind of behavior. So I think that's honestly, I think that's probably the only thing a company can do is make it clear that, yeah, you're going to get fired if you're involved in this. And just make sure people know that, and just have obviously there can't be, it's got to be a zero tolerance policy, in my opinion. But
Robin?
I think, too, you can't mandate everything. So like Parker said, you need to know what sexual harassment consists of and that it won't be tolerated, but you also need to have a policy of an open door to reporting that. And you have to go through training every once in a while to refresh everybody's memory what that is.
How about you, Samuel? Any ideas on that?
Yeah, I think I agree that, like with Parker, like everybody needs to kind of be trained on that, like when you are hired at a company or something like that, where people need to know how to recognize it and what to do exactly, because it was like the guy in the story, he didn't know exactly what to do. So yeah, being trained to recognize it, to identify it, but also to be open to reporting it and to feel safe in doing that, like, because she didn't want to report it because she was more afraid of her husband, and look at what happened because of that.
Yeah, I actually work for a company that I probably wouldn't feel as confident in reporting it to upper management because I don't have confidence that they will act on it appropriately. So that's the other thing, is you have to have confidence in your company that they're going to take care of things properly. How about you, Tina?
I actually work for a company where I've had friends, coworkers that have gone through situations where they're actually dating someone and that person became an abuser. So it kind of falls under that, but they did go to HR, and he did get where he could work from home. He wasn't, while they did their investigation, so he wasn't allowed in the facility for a certain length of time. But and the only reason I know all of this was because she shared. But I think I would be, where I work, I would be comfortable going and talking to my HR.
Yeah. So that would be an important thing if the company holds enough training and at least then tries to get out there that they are going to be someone that you can come to and they will act appropriately on it and take action where appropriate. Then you can feel more comfortable. Whereas Julia Martinez was afraid to lose her job right off the right. So I'm guessing that the policy wasn't very well known, that she didn't have enough confidence in the company or knew that there was a policy in place to protect her. So that's kind of my take on that. So, all right. Any other comments about sexual harassment and Lone Star and the different types of sexual harassment? Like we mentioned, there was the quid pro quo harassment, which is not very common these days, but mostly the hostile work environment is the one that is mostly applied these days. Any comments on the side there before we jump into our big assignment that's due this week? Okay. All right. Let's start down the line. We have groups here. Parker and I together. Parker, did you get my email the other day?
Yeah, I did. I'll have a couple solutions written up and get it to you by the end of business tomorrow.
Are you okay with me jumping into those other two right away?
Yeah, go ahead. Go crazy.
Okay. What Robin
We
and
need
I
one
looked
paragraph per thing, right?
Sorry?
Did I understand that right, that we needed one paragraph per solution?
Yeah, but what the paper has to be, it has to be 3,500 words or more, and he emphasized on more I mean, not extremely more, but more is better.
Okay.
Robin has already written all the intros in there for everybody, and that's about 600 and some words at this point.
Okay.
So in order to reach our word count, we figure everybody's got to write at least 600 to 700 words between their two positions or solutions, you might say.
Those are really long paragraphs.
Yes.
Okay.
If you
So,
look at the example,
Mhm.
they didn't do paragraphs on the solutions. They actually came out with procedures and everything. Their solutions were about 4 times as long as my intros.
Okay.
So you can even quote different references. You can look up different things. Like on the sexual harassment, since we're doing that, they actually listed what is sexual harassment and what was going to go in their policy book. So
your solution can get pretty detailed, like we're going to have meetings on Mondays every second month of the year, or whatever kind of things. So it's an actual put-in-place solution is what they're looking for in a lot of these. So.
Okay. Okay.
How about Samuel? How are you? You're with Lane, aren't you?
Yeah, and I just barely got my stuff put on. Lane put in his 2 for hours, and then I just put in my other 2.
Oh, great. So you guys are where the rest of us are procrastinators, so you guys are doing great. So how'd your word count? Did you get close to what we were talking there?
Oh, so I haven't written my stuff yet. I just wrote my.
Oh,
like,
just what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just keep in mind those word counts there, because since I'm leading the discussion this week, I'm the one that has to submit it by, I guess, Monday morning at 8 a.m. I'd rather not be doing it Monday morning at 8 a.m., so if we can get them in as soon as possible by the weekend sometime in there.
So our whole, like, between Lane and I, we have to have 600 to 700 words, or he has to have 600 and I have to have 600.
Yeah, Lane has to do 600 and you have to do 600.
Okay, that's cool. Got it.
So,
And that's for each solution, is that right?
No, that's
No,
per
between
person
the
with two
two.
solutions.
Okay, so like 300 words per each solution average.
Yeah, so if one's 200 words, the other one should be 400 words,
Right.
basically,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then Robin's going to help me make sure it's all formatted and everything. And if you make sure you put in your references and everything so that we can make a reference sheet up at the end. Is that right, Robin?
Robin, you're still muted.
Yeah, she's lost. I know she's upstairs, but
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take it out of the Google Doc once everybody puts their information in and format it so it's nice and neat with bold headings and everything. Do it like basically like a company paper that they're putting into process, you know. So I'm going to be doing it like that. But I am going to go ahead and do the references on all the articles that we've already had in all of the weeks. So like the articles that we did this week, I'm going to put them in there as part of our references. But if you look up anything else, if you'll please let me know and send me the link, then I can do a reference for that.
okay, so did everybody catch that? She's just going to automatically put a reference in for all the articles we've read so far that you can pull things out of and put into your solutions. So, all right. All right, let's take how do we feel we're doing? Everybody feel pretty good about what their task is on this paper at this point?
Thanks to Robin from the beginning of our this meeting. Yes, I feel better.
How about you,
I just needed ideas.
how about you, Samuel? You set on what you got to do?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. How about Parker? I guess we're all set. I've got two, and if you'll either grab one of the others and
Yeah, yeah, we're good.
okay.
Okay,
And then
and then
Lane?
if you guys want to read through the intros, if you want to change them or whatever, please do, because I was just doing a very general intro, which is what I think it needs. The solution needs to be more detailed.
Yeah, I see Lane's comment here. He says he's get his parts finished just hard doing during this week. That would be great. So, looks like we're on track. I know some of you, since we moved this a little later, wanted to get through this pretty fast, so that's what I was trying to do. And the main goal of tonight was to get through the material and then make sure everybody's on track for this paper. If you have any questions as you're doing it, talk with your partner. You can email me or Robin. Robin's going to be kind of helping me coordinate all this. I'd like to at least submit it by Sunday night. I don't want to do it Monday morning, so anyway, do the best you can. So I think we'll go ahead and end this meeting this time, and then just talk back and forth, emails or whatever as you're working on your project.
And just so you know, this paper is going to get bigger and bigger from what he said. So we will be adding 3 more problems to this paper in the next upcoming weeks with 12 more solutions. And so we'll be doing that 4 different times.
So it'll be one big paper when we're all done, I guess. So okay, all right.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Everybody
What time are we going to meet next week?
Oh yeah, we got to pick a leader in a meeting next week. So far Parker and I and Robin have done it. Any volunteers?
I guess I can always lead next week. I think. I don't think I have anything.
What about timing? What are you thinking?
If we keep it like we did tonight, I can do 8 Mountain Standard.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody?
Works for me.
Good for
I mean,
me.
or if you want to do it half an hour early, I'm good with that too. I think I'm the one who's the latest here, so.
Are you the one that requested 8 last week?
No, that was me. My son goes down at 8.
Okay.
But I can do earlier if we need to. So.
I mean, like I said, if we do, as long as we keep it to less than an hour or less, I'm okay. I can do it.
Okay, if you want to do it at 8 o'clock, that way Parker makes it better for you. Is that right?
It makes it a little easier.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
The
Well,
requirement is we have to meet at least a half an hour.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's not a problem. It's just once it starts getting to close to 10 o'clock and later, I start drifting.
Shut it down.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so
good.
next Thursday, 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time or Idaho time, and Tina will be the leader, and you'll send out the link just before, like
Yep.
that we did tonight.
Yes, I will.
Cool beans.
All right.
Everybody have a good night.
All
Thanks,
right,
you
good
too.
night.
All right.
Hopefully Lane will hook up better next week. So,
Bye.
bye.